We are recording. We are recording. Jeff and I just had a little discussion about marketing and sales.
Ah, yes, a little mind bender.
A little bit of a mind bender. And I just decided we were a little bit on a low here, trying to get this next recording going. So before I hit the record button, I did the and I remember once, Jeff, you'll like this. I was on a movie set back in, God, a long time ago. I think it was 1994, I think. It was for a movie called 9 Months with Hugh Grant and Jeff Goldblum and some other stars in there. And they had a tennis scene, and this is when I was over at the Tiburon Peninsula Club. And so they had a one-day shoot at the club. There was a tennis scene, and I won't tell you the whole story because I had a blast that whole day. It was just it was hysterical. But every time Jeff Goldblum it would be his turn to do another take, he would do this thing. He had this exercise where he just go off and go, doing these nonsensical sounds and things and, kind of slapping his face and this, and then boom, go, action.
Magic, right?
And guy's just a brilliant actor. I mean, he's ridiculous. Anyway, not a bad tennis player, too. Hugh Grant actually could play a little bit of tennis, and he came out several times before the shooting of that scene because he wanted to make sure that he looked good in the tennis part of the scene. So, and he came out. He took he'd be down there for about 4 or 5 days every day, for a couple hours, and he was just going after it and lathering up the sweat and so he says, "Come on, man, you gotta push me a little harder." I said, "Okay." So we started doing some drills, and then like a couple days before they had to shoot the scene, he goes, "Oh my God, my calf!" And I'm going, "Oh no, I've
ruined it.
I've totally ruined the guy, and now the whole movie's going to be completely screwed up."
Right.
He actually recovered pretty quickly, so it was good. But anyway, let's see. What do we want to talk about today? Oh, I know.
I got no idea now.
I know what I want to talk about. So we were talking about singles, and we recently had an episode where I was talking about one of the guys on our YouTube channel who had mentioned something about how his opponents sort of figure him out and they can make adjustments, and how he's struggling trying to figure out, well, if they're doing that to him, then what should he do? Or vice versa. They're actually playing better. Well, what do I do? And his thing was, well, I always come out with my plan A. And so I think it's been, sort of said out there, well, if plan A is not working, then you got to go to plan B. And I think there's a little misunderstanding there, Jeff, where plan A, let's say that you're just a serve and volley guy. All right, now all of a sudden you're down a break in the first set. You're down 2-4. It's time for you to serve again. Doesn't mean that now you have to become the total 180, which is the 5 to 10 feet behind the baseline moonball pusher.
Right.
I mean, couldn't plan A be like a slight adjustment? Little hybrid of plan A, but not just a complete and utter, I'm now a completely different player.
Right. Well, I think, in that scenario, why did you get broken? Are they maybe you're making your first serve, but they kind of like it, right? Maybe they like the timing of your first serve, and you're kind of nailing it in there, and it's good, and it comes in with a good medium pace, and they're just like it seems to be their wheelhouse. So maybe I should back off a little bit and hit kind of a pseudo second serve, some sort of semi kicker on my first serve, get the ball up out of the strike zone, and allows me to get another extra step into the court, maybe step and a half closer to the net, right? So that little adjustment can change the dynamic very rapidly, and so you don't lose your plan A. This is still plan A, but you've made an adjustment to allow yourself to continue plan A, but it's not, it may be not your favorite plan A, but it could become your favorite plan A today.
That's right.
Well,
look, and I'm thinking also another serve and volley situation where the guy's smart. I mean, the guy's figured out, look, you're definitely a serve and volley guy. And it happens in doubles too, right? Where your serve, for whatever reason, as you just described, it's just laying in there perfect for this guy. And he's not teeing off. In fact, what he's doing is feathering it back down to your feet.
Right. And you got to play in the dirt.
And you're just down their shoe tops all day long, and just kind of, even though you're making volleys, it's kind of going, uh-oh, I'm screwed. And so what I've done before is I'll just put the brakes on a step sooner. I'll come in my split step, step sooner, knowing the ball's going to be bouncing up for me. Now I get a little bit of a waist-high ball that I can sort of play as an approach shot, because to me, whether I volley it or whether I stop a step early and play an approach, I still end up in the same spot for the next court position. So that's another way to make a slight adjustment if you're a total serve and volley guy. And I found the same thing works in doubles too, where some guys just making my life miserable because it's just off my shoe tops, and then his partner is going, hi, this is going to be fun. This is going to be really fun right here. And so sometimes maybe, I'm not saying you serve and stay back, but you serve and you just put the brakes on one step sooner. Let that ball get up a little bit, and now you're in control. Doesn't mean you don't get in as quickly as before. What about the guy who does stay back, who's sort of not, I won't say a pusher, but primarily a baseline guy who serves, gets back maybe or returns, and now is playing a couple feet behind the baseline, losing points? Why can't you now just, rather than going to become a serve and volley guy, couldn't you just now serve and stay inside the baseline, or return and stay inside the baseline, looking for maybe the possibility to rob that guy of some time?
I think how to make the adjustments is, are you recognizing what's going on? And that's where a lot of match play comes into play, in the way you do your post-match analysis, right? What actually happened? Not what it felt like, but what actually happened, right? And being brutally honest about what actually happened in the match, so that even before we get to the ground stroke guy, maybe the serve and volley guy is just trying to inflict too much pain with his first volley, and he's shanking a few, and he's just overcooking.
He's just not executing.
Yeah, he's just overcooking. It's like, you know what? You got to let the other guy touch the ball. So what happens if I take my first volley and just stiff it down the center of the court, and at least get another look at another ball? What happens then, right? Does that dynamic do enough for me to get a nice second ball volley, that now that I'm closer into the net, and now the dynamic changes, now I start to get confidence back in my volley again, and then things start to move on in a better plan there, right? Now the ground stroker, it could be, are you playing your margins too tight, right? Am I playing out to the edges of the court way too early in the match? And so now I've given up, I've gotten broken out of the gate maybe, because I felt like the way this guy warmed up, boy, he's really striking the ball well. Okay, guess what? He still gets to hit the ball. And so, just because a guy warms up really nicely, I've lost more warm-ups than I can count. Where the guy is just like, I'm looking at this guy going, why is he playing here? Shouldn't he be someplace winning like a different tournament, like an expensive tournament, right?
That's right.
And then the match starts, and really there was nothing to be afraid of. Just because now the reality of the match starts, and mentally maybe the guy's just not quite as built as tough, and all those possibilities. But so it's not about making these drastic left turns to change strategy, but knowing your skill set, knowing your patterns. So just playing your game is a great kind of general statement. But can you actually write out what that is? Here are the patterns I like to use to actually deploy my strengths, because that's what that is, right? We're talking about, I start every match, playing my game.
Yeah.
Well, what is that?
Well, but I mean, I think a lot of players think of their game as when I play my best, let's say serve and volley. I serve out wide to the deuce court and I come in and I knock off the first volley. And
Right.
when I serve to the ad court, I throw a little kicker in there. I get a ball and I volley, the open court for a winner. That's my game. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
That's once in a blue moon when you get those juicy opportunities. You come in and just knife it off like Fed, and players don't consider, well, my game is I'm only winning 55% of the points when I'm really on my game.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot.
Yeah. Are you really that let's say skilled of a volleyer as you think you are? And the test is, are you still hitting your targets with a measure of authority when you're taking the ball below the level of the net mid-court? Can you still stay steady and actually hit your target and blah, 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 and do these things? Because the day you come off the court, boy, I really played well today. It really felt great, blah, blah, blah. Is the guy you're playing, does he have mediocre returns? And so he was just feeding you this gold all day long. And yeah, you come off the court and it's great. I'm not poo-pooing that at all. Because listen, I love those matches like the next guy. Because yeah, you come off the court and you feel like a god. But the reality is that tomorrow, the next round, I'm playing so-and-so, and I know his return is better than the guy I played today. So I better have a measure of reality check in there and maybe go out to the court for 20 minutes later on in the day and just really have somebody stick some groundies at me, and I got to stick some volleys here and really get my head wrapped around next match.
Yeah.
And know that I need to be elevated in that focus. And so I think it's a interesting question, because I think the first takeaway is I'm going to play my game. God, if you can't write that out, from where the serve goes, because I like to serve here because normally I get this type of return, and then it allows me to do X, Y, or Z. And I mean, we got to know this stuff.
Yeah, but really... I mean, and look, knowing your game, you've just described one unique situation.
A sliver
of the entire match.
Part of the pie.
Right.
Part of the pie.
What's my game? I serve and volley. Okay. My game is I serve and I stay back and I do this or do that. Okay, but what's to say that the guy is not going to allow you to do that? So if that's your plan A, then you need to be able to adjust to a slightly different version of that. That doesn't mean that's not your game. I mean, your game could be a whole array of your plan A's.
Right.
It could be a lot of different versions. And I think too often what players do is they go, well, here's what I do. I stick a first serve in, I come in, and I bang that volley over there. And I'm just going, okay, well, that's under ideal conditions. And if we take the video, if we do the reality check, watch the video, how often did you get the first serve in, and how often did the guy give you the return, and how often did you stick the volley?
Right.
Twice a set? Maybe.
Maybe.
So,
exactly. And
anyway.
And your and your adjustments. I had a thought and it kind of
well,
left
listen.
me there.
I think a lot of it is that you've got to also be realistic. That plan A is is the ideal situation, right? But most of the set is not ever played under ideal or with ideal situations. It's most of the time points are pretty darn mediocre.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it just doesn't happen the way that you want it to. Doesn't I would love to be able to well, my plan A used to be serve and volley, thank you. Serve and volley, thank you. Until they started slowing the courts down. Serve and volley, ball sitting up over there.
Right.
I mean, give me a really, fast, dusty hard court.
Right.
That's my plan A.
Right.
Right there.
Right.
So
lather me up. I'm just a pig in a pen, baby.
That's right. So, guys, I just want you to. I guess the message today is that great. I mean, your strengths, and that is your plan A. Your plan. That's good. but you don't have to make a wholesale change if you get down a set, or if you lose the first set and you're down a break. You do not need to become a completely different player,
Right.
to be able to have a chance to maybe reverse the outcome of the match. It could be some slight adjustments. And I think what you were saying is that usually it's because we're not executing, right? I mean, you're right, Jeff. Sometimes we bang our big first serve in there, and it just happens the guy has got that kind of return, like it's kind of ho-hum. But I would venture to guess that in reality, most of the time, we're just not making shots that we think are our plan A. And so let's give a little more margin above the top of the net. That would be the hybrid version of plan A. Let's not go so tight to the net. Let's not go so tight to the line.
Right.
Let's not think ESPN 11 o'clock top 10 highlights and you get all 10 of them. You know, the guy go, oh, here's number 10. Well, yeah.
Right.
Oh, my God, he's here's number 9. He's in here again.
Right.
So, all right, guys, well, listen, hope you got something out of today's Gold Ball Hunting podcast. And we'd love to hear from you. Number one is if you want some help, we're offering a private free 10-minute coaching call. All we ask is you bring just one thing in your game, one very specific area of your game that you think is holding you back from getting the ultimate results you want. And again, it's private. It's free. 3-way conference call. Go over to goldballhunting.com. Put in your first name, put an email address, click the button, and you'll get access to our online calendar scheduler where you get to pick your own date and time that works best for you. Jeff, what would we like to find folks to do right now?
Right now. Like us, share us, please subscribe. Let us know what you think down below.
Outstanding. Guys, get out there today. Help someone else have a spectacular day. Jeff, let's do this again tomorrow.
Can't wait.